When did you realize your best friend wasn't really your friend? When I opened a drawer in her house and recognized my jewelry, trinkets. I looked at it all, took back my mother's ring, and left 3 years this person stole from me. I was her only friend. I'll never understand it. When I asked her to be my maid of honor, and she left the care package I made for her when she was sick in the hospital a few weeks back on my doorstep in a box, and stopped returning my texts and calls. She reached out a couple years later, and I asked why she ended the friendship the way she did, and her response was she was just being a dick. We are still not friends. My whole friend group, they never really talked to me, unless they needed something like homework and etc. Took a while to realize, too long even, but, as much as it hurts, it was unfortunately the best option I had at the time. When I received screenshots of a post in a social media group bashing me and saying truly horrible things, the person who sent them was a random stranger who said they looked on my then best friend's social media account and figured the post and comments had to be about me, since she called me her best friend on a lot of posts. She said that she thought I should know what she was saying about me because they were so bad, and if they weren't actually about me then she was sorry for sending them. I thanked her and promised to keep her anonymity so the girl wouldn't get kicked out of the group. Then I sent screenshots to my friend and said this friendship is over. When I realized how ashamed she made me feel about myself. Looking back, I think she projected her insecurities onto me because it is what her family did to her. When I decided to be more open about who I was and what I believed in, she ghosted me. I had this really close friend growing up. When we got to high school he started ignoring me. It started from small things, like not inviting me when the boys would go out and chill. Then towards the end of high school I started going through some real shit. Instead of being like a friend and talking to me about it, he totally distanced himself from me. Even heard about how he would talk shit behind my back. We'll never know what happened. When he tried to date my sister, we were freshmen in college, and she was still in middle school. Plus I knew he was verbally abusive, so I said hell to the fuck no. Told him to forget about me and my family. I even called his mother to let her know what her pervy ass son was up to. I knocked that bridge. I was the one who maintained contact for years. She contacted me only when she needed something from me, money, lift, emotional support, etc. and for the drama with her boyfriends, and she loves drama. I stopped talking to her for 4 years when she suddenly emailed me explaining she was forced to drop our friendship because of her boyfriend jealousy. It's not her fault yada yada, and she wanted to talk to me again. Same old story. I deleted her email and moved on with my life. When I realized that I was the worst person when I was around him. He was very good at convincing you to do really shitty things, and I let it go way too far before I realized that. Luckily I did eventually and completely cut him out of my life. One day after 13 years of friendship he just blocked me everywhere and refused to tell me why. Then he began to indirectly insult me in online groups we both were in. Didn't say my name, but it was obvious he meant me. I honestly should have broken that friendship off long ago. He used to really bully me back in school. After school things got better though, and I thought he changed. To this day I have no idea what happened there. If there was just a misunderstanding or I did something wrong I didn't realize. Doesn't matter since after it, he showed his true colors. We had a fight and didn't speak for a week. Then they threatened me over something incredibly stupid. I was after we stopped being friends that I realized they were never really a friend to me. Our mutual friends were asking me if I was okay, and I was. I wondered why I was, and it was because the relationship with the ex-friend was all one-sided. I was there for them whenever they needed. I always did something for their birthday, and I always gave them money when they needed it. I can't recall a time when they did anything for me. When he confessed his love for my girlfriend shortly after we broke up. I had been dating her for 3 years, and he was my roommate for 3 years. To make matters worse my now ex-GF lived directly below me, so I would hear everything whenever they hung out together. There was a lot of little arguments and stuff, but the breaking point was New Year's night years back. My wife and I was at a small New Year's Eve party at his place with his wife. His brother with his girlfriend and another friend with his girlfriend was there, and we all was having fun. The plan was for us to stay the night and we confirmed this beforehand. Both my wife and I got drunk. Come about 1 AM we are told there isn't enough room and we have to leave. We got kicked out onto the street both drunk. We lived in the next town over. Once we sobered up I basically told him off, and we haven't spoke since. He was my best friend of since middle school. When his wife caught him about to cheat, he said he'd work to fix his marriage, ended up walking out on his wife, 3 years old and newborn. He came to me expecting me to back him up and tell him he was right to be rid of them, but I chewed him out instead. He then came up with some bullshit about her being controlling from the start of their relationship. Then why get married and have kids? He left their home and started seeing some other women. He still texts me sometimes about sports or something, but I can't stand deadbeat dads. He's refused to get a divorce saying he doesn't know what to do. You left the family home 18 mths ago. You know you're not fixing this, so man the fuck up and get a divorce so you can all move on. I woke up with him sucking my cock. Later it became obvious that he had done it other times when I would get blackout drunk. When, at the age of 16, I found out I was pregnant and told her in confidence. Being very young and less than 12 weeks pregnant, I didn't want others to know yet. A couple of weeks later someone said they had heard I was pregnant. She had told them. I didn't speak to her for a year for abusing my trust. A year later we bumped into each other, with baby in tow, and we stopped and chatted. Both agreed we missed each other. She then said it was a stupid reason we fell out anyway. That was the end of that friendship, and haven't seen or spoken to her since. This was 20 years ago. I don't feel I over-exaggerated. If you can't trust your best friend with a huge secret, then they don't deserve to be your friend. He used to tell long stories about other people all the time. Like every time we hung out at some point he was dishing out gossip about other people we knew. It was super interesting, because he somehow knew everything that was going on about everything. I thought I was getting privileged information from a really good friend, until I started realizing he was telling other people about my stuff the same exact way. Dude was feeding my ex some personal stuff I was sharing with him in confidence. Something about her doing some petty things in order to get to me. Found out because she was posting about it, making fun of me on Twitter, and twisted things to make it look pretty pathetic. Texted him about it and told me screw off. Pretty disappointing, but whatever. A few days later he tried to apologize through text. Didn't even read it. Loaned him my car. He brought it back with an outside mirror missing. Said someone knocked it off while it was parked. Okay. He offered to pay for the repair. Had it repaired, but he kept putting off payment. Asked to borrow his car. He refused. I never let people borrow my car. Go fuck yourself, Tim. When she told me she hoped I had a miscarriage with the baby I was trying to have with my husband, because she had had an abortion and was envious. I understand why she would feel that way, and we have worked on getting her help. I still have love for her, but it put an irreparable crack in our relationship. When she stopped hanging out with me and set up our mutual friend against me, we were in the same class and would meet and walk up to and back from school. One day I was getting my bicycle to walk with them, notified them as usual, and they had left. When I came back, was a few lonely years in school after that. Few years ago we got to talk over him. She wanted to meet and said we grew apart over something stupid by her fault. I told her I held no grudges, but just wondered what went wrong, because I've never known what changed/happened. She didn't remember. I didn't meet up with her. I thought about it though, but I didn't feel like meeting her, just so she could feel better about it. My dad got me a really nice bike. My dad never bought me anything, so it wasn't just a nice bike to me. It went missing, so I spent a couple days looking for it. I found it in a creek near my house. It had been thrown off the bridge and the front tire and fork was bent. I went over to my best friend's house to tell him what happened. His older brother made him tell me that it was my friend who had thrown the bike in the creek. I was stunned. I asked him why, and he said, "That bike was too good for you. You don't deserve it." When I realized that he had serious mental problems that he was shoving on me, I finally cut ties with him, but before when I tried to leave he would threaten to hurt himself or others. I just needed to rip off the band-aid, and I'm so glad I did. When she was sat in my kitchen, at my table drinking coffee with me, and she openly started dissing one of her other friends, and telling me all about how her and another friend of hers get together to talk trash about this other friend. So that's when I realized she wasn't a very good friend. We no longer speak after a major fallout, after I started distancing myself from her. The first and only time I tried arguing with him about anything was a few weeks ago. He got so pissed off about me not agreeing with him that he unfriended and blocked me on social media and refuses to speak to me anymore, and is talking shit about me to anyone who listens. We were best friends for almost 30 years. When she called me crying over a bad day, I invited her over, and she didn't show up. Hours of waiting, and no contact later, I saw her snap story of her drinking with other people. I asked about it, said I thought she was coming over. Her reply was she forgot we had plans, and her boyfriend invited them over because she had a bad day and wanted to forget. It was a blow when she ignored me all day. It was a kick in the teeth when I realized I'm not the first call made by her boyfriend when she needed to forget her day. She was my best friend, but I was not hers. Not even a second thought given to me. It's been over a month and a half since we've had an actual conversation. When he stole from someone and blamed it on another friend. After borrowing things and allowing some of them to be stolen and never taking responsibility. After borrowing money and never returning it, later found out from multiple people. Turned out to all be for drugs, and not even hard stuff, just weed and ecstasy. When she spent our first phone conversation after my mom died talking about all the issues she was having with her shitty boyfriend. Like, I was always there for her to talk about this, but we couldn't take a break for one day to talk about how I, at 8 months pregnant no less, had just lost my mother. I was done. When she told me not to report my sexual assault because sport season is coming up and school name needs him. Yes. She was my closest friend at the time, and yes, she was serious. I did report it and find new friends, so happy ending I guess. When she made some rather derogatory comments about immigrants and being bilingual. At the time, I was married to an immigrant and we were raising our child to be bilingual. I didn't say anything to her about it, and it was said in such a passing manner that she may not even have realized what she had said. I realized she grew up to be so genuinely tacky. Our friendship just kinda faded out from there. When I asked for one meaningful conversation, a little bit more than "how are you?" "Good and you," a week, and she agreed. We've had maybe 4 meaningful conversations over the last year and a half. Literally all I wanted is something with substance, maybe a funny story from work or something she's looking forward to. She can't even be bothered with that. So I'm currently still trying to move on. I honestly wish I didn't have this kind of loyalty to someone who can't carve out 10 minutes a week for me, but I do. It's frustrating. When she knowingly let her BF blame me for causing her a mental breakdown. They'd convinced themselves I'd cut her off, whilst I'd done no such thing, and instead of asking me about it, she decided it was important to let him get it out of his system. I didn't even know she was struggling. She broke my heart that day. If she'd just asked me, I'd have been happy to discuss it. I thought we'd grow old together. But knowing she thought it was okay for him to use it against me was awful. I wasn't even afforded the benefit of the doubt. During an argument he told me he was glad my parents died, and that he wishes my son dies as well. Yeah, this was years ago, and he still tries to contact me. I'm a woman, and he said I should just expect comments like that from a gay man. No. He is now living a miserable and lonely life. The life he deserves. At the time, I, Make, was a 30-something-year-old traveler for Uncle Sam. I had bought a house and had 2 cats. I then got the call to travel for what ended up being 12 months across the country. I hired my friend to tend to my cats and look after my car. Told him he could drive it, etc. I called often, just to chat as friends would, but occasionally asked about the cats and the car. Everything is great, he replied. 12 months later, I came home. The cats were pissing and shitting all over the place as he seemed to not empty the litter box, and the car had left 4 divots where the tires sat, unused for a year. Fucker lied through his teeth as he accepted the cash and ruined my car. Battery and alternator died. Driveway with the divots, and those fucking cats still don't trust anything but a perfectly clean litter box. When I realized that I put way more into maintaining our friendship than she did, I always initiated hanging out. I was almost always on time, while she was consistently late or a no-show. I first attributed this to her being a bit flaky, but then realized one day that 1. She didn't seem to do this her other friends, and 2. I deserved better. French person here. Realized that my best friend for almost 10 years was just using me. I noticed some changes before getting in high school, but when I finally got there, she just ignored me. I also realized that being with her made me stay far from everyone else. I literally got only one friend, but even her was fake. Well, few years later it still hurts. He started relentlessly bullying his older sister, and one time she saved my ex-friend's friend from falling off some pretty high rocks, and was just told by the ex-friend to leave. No thank you, not today, yeah, I'm sticking with her. So I guess it was a swapping friends boo. Yeah, still lost a friend. I joined the Air Force out of high school. My best friends not once congratulated me on anything and stopped talking to me when they noticed how well I was doing. They remained in our hometown and to this day continue to do the same thing we did in high school. When I joined the Coast Guard and haven't heard from him since. FYI, we were best friends for 8 years. He lived with my family for 3 and we helped him graduate HS/move out from a toxic home situation. Inversely, my other best friend, since HS from back home, still keeps in touch regularly, so cheers to him. He completely ghosted all of his friends without warning, including me and my GF, now wife, after graduation. I found out later through another friend that he wanted to start fresh in college. This guy was like a brother to me and was my first real friend. I wish I could say karma came back and bit him, but no, quite the opposite. He achieved his dreams of graduating from his dream school and got his dream job as a military helicopter pilot. It is bittersweet. A part of me is happy he made it, but he also threw us away like garbage, so that sucks. Paul, if you are reading this, fuck you. You were going to be my best man. It has been over a decade and the way you left us still hurts. My sister's best friend told her we should get over my dad's unexpected passing, barely 2 months after it happened. We were all friends, so we cut her out. She came back when her mom got sick and now we are here for her after her mom passed. We would never cut anyone off who was in need, and I think their friendship is stronger than ever. Still hurts, though. When I realized that I didn't really miss not seeing or be in contact with them. No big blow up or falling out. It was just one of those things when after some time passed, I was suddenly like HMPH. I haven't seen/heard from them in a long time, and that was about the extent of it. Figured if I didn't really care enough to do anything about that, they didn't either, so it was just best to let things die out. When my only friend at the time threw a tantrum because I was preoccupied caring for my dying husband and didn't pay her the attention she craved. She was tired of my drama when all I did was be quiet because I had nothing good to talk about. Good riddance. When he fucked my ex-wife, just for her to get back at me for leaving. He was weak-willed, and she was a, well, bitch. He went on to commit suicide 8 years later. By that time I had moved on, and also forgot about the incident. I forgave him a year after the incident, when I came to the realization she was just using him in a game I left the table ages ago from. But still I couldn't really call him my best friend after that. My real best friend died 3 years later. It's ironic, one fought until the last and one gave up and hung himself. Sad. It's complicated to discuss, but basically, I'm not sure I ever had a best friend. All friends, though, have become less than that for various reasons. The concept of a best friend is alien to me. Couple years back I had only just left primary school and was messaging my best friend who I knew for about 9 years, and he just randomly starts throwing homophobic slurs at me and starts telling me to kill myself. I used to live about 2 kilometers from the nearest shop. It was too far for 9-year-old me to go there by myself. So I gave my friend £1 in the hope that he would buy a sweet that I wanted. This went on for a few days and I stupidly kept giving him money. On the 4th or 5th day I saw him buying football cards with my money. After that I just didn't trust him and cut him off. This person had a habit of getting mad at me for unknown reasons, ignoring me, then alienate me from other friends. I was desperate enough to hold on to them, that this happened about 20 times throughout our last year as friends. Same thing, over and over, get mad at me, not tell me why, then suddenly act like everything was fine a few days later. No explanation. I finally cut it off after the 20th time or so. It was the start of my GAD, which has plagued me since. I don't know if she has, or will ever realize how badly she hurt me, and my mental health, or if she ever, or will ever feel remorse. It wasn't after he took money from me without asking on many different occasions. It wasn't after he never came to visit me in the 7 years I lived in a different state. It wasn't after squaring up on his behalf for people he screwed over. It was the culmination of everything over the course of 20 years, with a cherry on top. He tried to tell my wife that I'm cheap in a lame attempt to make me look bad. That was 4 years ago, and though I miss him, I know I'm better off without him in my life. Pretty much everyone around me knew he was a shitty friend. I defended him for years. It was when I took my fiancée home to meet everyone and all he wanted to do was sit in his basement and drink and play video games that started the ball rolling. When we went to a mutual friend's house, all he did was drink what liquor he'd brought with him and then leave to buy more. Finally I was supposed to go to dinner with him and asked if it was alright to bring my brother along. I was home on leave, so I didn't get to see family often, and he blew up, saying I'd pretty much fucked up his plans for us to hang out. I haven't spoken to him for several years now, and won't unless he gains the awareness to apologize for how shitty he's treated me and all of the other old friends who've cut him from their lives. When I realized she had been lying to me for months about how I found out she was finally getting married to use me at the wedding, I didn't go to the wedding because I didn't want to ruin her day with drama. But they spent the entire night talking about me and trying to get more people to hate me. Blamed me when things didn't go as planned. They ruined their own wedding just fine without me. When I got a text, saw it was her who sent it, and automatically thought I'll read it later. I don't want to fight right now. Every single conversation we had turned into her yelling at me, usually over something stupid. One time she asked how I was doing, and I told her about some stuff I was going through, and she got all upset at me. Apparently she was having a bad mental health day, and hearing about my problems, after specifically asking me about them, was too difficult for her right now, and I should have known that. The last time I talked to her, she asked me for advice on a project she was working on. I gave her a couple suggestions. She blew up at me and said she was looking for support, not criticism. How dare I give her suggestions when she asked for them? Since then, I've ignored every text and phone call from her. In fairness, she had a traumatic childhood and is struggling with some health issues. But you can't use that as an excuse to treat people the way she treated me. When I was finally tired of her pressuring me into doing things I didn't want to do, when I put so much into the relationship and did not get back what I put in, and she didn't care. When I realized we would never do fun things together other than me watching her kid and dog. She never thanked me and took advantage of me and always told PPL in social situations that I had seen her vagina. And this bitch walks in and sees my vagina. I always said no, I have not seen your vagina. Stop saying that. You were high on drugs from having a baby and I didn't see it. Her husband never backed me up, even though he was there and knew I hadn't seen her vagina. I was just done. Fuck Angela. When he worked out that I have gender issues and he no longer wanted to know me, I still miss his friendship even after 20 plus years. The other people I have considered best friends I have lost touch with because we no longer work or live together and significant time has passed. Makes me sad because I struggle making friends in the first place, and to lose touch with people hurts. When I noticed I was always the one to call and reach out to my best friend. She never returns my call or responds to my texts, but will post on social media that she's my best friend. Didn't even text me on my birthday, and when I texted her on her birthday, she left me on read. I haven't reached out since September, and no word from her. We had lunch period together, and would always hang out in the library reading. I asked a few times if she wanted to go out and do anything else, and she said no, because lunch period was the only time in the day she had to read. Next year we both had lunch period together again, but this time her other friends had it too. And immediately she was willing to hang out in the lunchroom and go out. I realized was her backup friend, and she preferred reading over talking to me. When they sicked a bunch of online friends on me, and I could recognize their usernames from what my friends said about them, then trying to flip THR blame on me, and tries ruining me, only for him to get completely wrecked socially, because of the power I had around where he lived. When I got a boyfriend at the age of 17, and she wasn't happy for me at all. She tried to conceal her jealousy, and I felt super awkward because of it. Only then I realized that it wasn't the first time she didn't handle my good news well. I was hoping she'd be happy for me, especially because I wasn't showing any signs of ditching our friendship. I kept inviting her to hang out, just us. She let some weird comments slip though that left me feeling very hurt. I didn't even want to try after that, but I feel the need to mention there had been several other issues with her that I'd been trying to ignore, which ultimately led me to that decision. It's been only 3 years since we stopped talking without any fights, but if I want to be completely honest, it still hurts. I don't miss her, it was just a shitty way to end 10 years of being close friends. We were in AA. We were almost inseparable. I'd hang out at his house and we'd give PPL tattoos. He had lied to me for almost a year about having a kid, even though he was 16. I was 18. Every time he mentioned his pretend son I would ask questions to see a picture, EXC. He had other make-believe stories, but that was the most often he spoke of. One day he texts me after being a douche and tells me the truth that he had been lying and stealing from me. My dad was his sponsor, so I borrowed his phone to text the douche to go to a meeting that night. I went. He shared about the shitty person he was. I saw him in the parking lot afterward and proceeded to kick his ass. I had rings on, so I knew if fucking hurt. Never saw him again, probably smoking meth under a bridge.